Ladies and gentlemen, there's a story of a man who planted a seed. Every day he watered it, nurtured it, watched it closely. Weeks passed, then months, and still nothing. Frustration set in. His neighbors whispered behind his back, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Doubt crept in. But then, in the final days of the season, just when he was about to give up, a tiny green sprout broke through the soil. What have I told you right now? You are that seed, the power of perspective. Imagine standing in front of a vast field, freshly plowed, the soil rich and ready. You plant a seed, small, almost insignificant, and you cover it with earth. You water it, you watch it, you wait. But days pass, then weeks, then months, and nothing happens. No sprout, no sign of growth, no indication that anything is changing beneath the surface. Doubt begins to creep in. Did I plant it correctly? Did I water it enough? Was the soil good enough? Maybe it wasn't meant to grow. Maybe I should give up. This is the point where most people walk away. When they don't see immediate results, they assume nothing is happening. They assume their effort was wasted, their belief was misguided. But what they fail to realize is that just because you don't see progress doesn't mean progress isn't happening. Life works the same way. You may have been working towards something for years. Maybe it's a business you're trying to build. Maybe it's a dream you've carried in your heart since childhood. Maybe it's a relationship, a breakthrough, a healing, a new beginning. And you've done everything right. You've invested time, energy, resources. You've remained faithful, showing up day after day. But the results? Nowhere in sight. And this is where perspective changes everything. Because if you knew with absolute certainty that your breakthrough was coming in a few weeks, would you still be doubting? Would you still be discouraged? If you had a guarantee that everything you've been waiting for was already planned and set to happen at the end of March, would you still be questioning whether it was worth it? The answer is no. You'd be excited. You'd be expectant. You'd stop second guessing. You'd prepare because you'd know without a doubt that what you've been working toward is not only possible, it's inevitable. But here's the truth. That is exactly where you are right now. The only thing missing is your belief in the process. Think about the stories of people who almost gave up just before their breakthrough. The entrepreneur who was about to shut down their business when the biggest contract of their life came through. The artist who was on the verge of quitting when their work suddenly went viral. The athlete who considered walking away just before they received the opportunity they had spent their entire life training for. The problem is that most people give up right before their moment arrives, not because they aren't capable, not because they aren't deserving, but because they lost the right perspective. They mistook the delay for denial. They assumed the silence meant nothing was happening, when in reality everything was aligning behind the scenes. Your life is not a series of random events. The setbacks, the delays, the obstacles, they all serve a purpose. Every detour has been part of the plan. Every closed door was guiding you to the right one. Every challenge was building your resilience, shaping you for what's coming next. The problem is that most people don't see it that way. They think life is happening to them instead of happening for them. But when you shift your perspective, when you choose to believe that everything is already unfolding exactly as it should, you stop fighting the process. You stop questioning whether it's meant to be. You stop hesitating and start preparing. Because you know with absolute certainty that your moment is coming. And when you truly embrace this perspective, everything changes. You stop being frustrated by the waiting. You stop doubting whether your effort matters. You stop looking at other people's timelines and wondering why yours looks different. Because you understand that your journey is unique, your timing is divine, and what's meant for you will arrive. Not a second too early or too late, but exactly when it's supposed to. So here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Are you ready? Because if God said it's all planned for the end of March, then that means it's already set in motion. It's already written. The only thing left for you to do is believe it and act accordingly. The science of belief and why we give up too soon. The human brain is an incredible machine. It is designed to seek patterns, to make sense of the world, and to predict outcomes based on past experiences. But it is also wired for survival, which means it avoids discomfort, uncertainty, and risk. This is why so many people struggle with perseverance. The moment things start feeling too hard, too slow, or too uncertain, the brain sends signals of doubt, fear, and frustration. The instinct is to retreat, to give up, to shift focus to something that offers more immediate rewards. But that instinct is precisely what holds most people back from experiencing the breakthroughs they are meant for. There is a chemical in the brain called dopamine. It is often referred to as the motivation molecule because it fuels the feeling of excitement and drive when we anticipate a reward, when we start something new, a business, a relationship, a fitness goal, a creative project. We experience a surge of dopamine. This is why the beginning of anything feels so exhilarating. The potential is limitless, the possibility is exciting, and the motivation is high. But as time passes and results do not come as quickly as expected, dopamine levels drop. The brain starts questioning the effort. It starts creating reasons why the goal may not be achievable. This is where the real challenge begins, not because progress is impossible, but because the belief in the process starts to weaken. And this is the moment when most people quit. Not because they are incapable, not because they lack potential, but because their brain convinces them that the effort is no longer worth it. This is why understanding belief is so important. Belief is not just an abstract idea, it is a neurological and psychological force that determines how we act, how long we persist, and how we interpret setbacks. People who believe they are on the right path do not see obstacles as signs to quit. They see them as necessary steps in the journey. People who believe their breakthrough is inevitable do not focus on the absence of visible progress. They focus on the unseen growth happening beneath the surface. There is a famous concept in nature called the tipping point. This is the moment when an accumulation of small efforts finally leads to an explosive breakthrough. Consider the way water boils. For a long time, as heat is applied, there is no visible change. The water looks exactly the same. But at 100 degrees Celsius, everything shifts. The water begins to bubble and transform into steam. This change does not happen gradually. It happens suddenly as a result of sustained effort over time. The same principle applies to personal growth, business success, relationships, and spiritual breakthroughs. The process is slow, often invisible, and requires unwavering belief. Most people give up when they're at 95 degrees, not realizing they were just a few degrees away from transformation. The key difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, intelligence, or luck. It is simply the ability to keep going when there is no visible evidence that anything is working. History is filled with examples of individuals who persisted through moments when everything seemed to be against them. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before successfully inventing the light bulb. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television before becoming one of the most influential media figures in the world. The common thread among all these stories is not immediate success. It is unshakable belief in the face of doubt. This is why mindset is everything. The people who succeed are not necessarily the smartest, the most talented, or the luckiest. They are simply the ones who have trained their minds to stay focused and committed even when everything around them suggests they should quit. They understand that progress often happens in the unseen. They know that every effort is accumulating even when there is no visible proof. They trust that if they continue to show up, the tipping point will come. The greatest danger is not failure, it is quitting too soon. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they stop believing just before their breakthrough. They mistake the waiting period for a dead end. They assume the silence means nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is building beneath the surface. The key is to override the brain's instinct to seek immediate gratification and instead develop the ability to hold on to belief even when there is no immediate reward. When belief is strong, setbacks are no longer seen as reasons to stop. They are seen as necessary parts of the process. When belief is strong, delays are not interpreted as denials. They are understood as divine timing at work. And when belief is strong, there is no such thing as giving up, because the vision is too clear, the purpose too strong, and the breakthrough too certain to let temporary discouragement stand in the way. The question is not whether what you desire is possible. The question is whether you will hold on long enough to see it happen. If everything has been planned for the end of March, then the waiting has not been wasted. The progress has not been lost. The tipping point is near. The only thing left to do is believe and persist until the moment of breakthrough arrives. Why timing matters? The power of divine planning. Timing is one of the most powerful forces in life. It dictates when opportunities arise, when relationships flourish, and when breakthroughs occur. Yet most people struggle with timing because they want control. They want success now, answers immediately, and results on their schedule. But life doesn't work that way. The most significant moments, the biggest transformations, and the most meaningful victories all happen in perfect timing, not a second too soon or too late. When we try to force things outside of their destined time, we often end up frustrated, exhausted, and disillusioned. But when we trust in divine planning, we step into a flow where everything unfolds exactly as it should. Think about nature. You cannot rush a sunrise. No matter how much you want the day to begin sooner, the sun will rise when it is meant to. You cannot force a tree to grow faster than its natural rhythm. If you try to pull a sprouting plant out of the ground to speed up its growth, you don't help it, you kill it. The same principle applies to our lives. What is meant to happen will happen at the right time. The problem is that most people lose patience in the waiting. They start to believe that delays mean denials, that unanswered prayers mean rejection, and that silence means nothing is happening. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Divine planning is like preparing for a harvest. A farmer does not plant seeds today and expect to reap a full harvest tomorrow. They know that growth takes time. They understand that different crops have different growing seasons. Some plants take weeks, others take months or even years. But the farmer never doubts that in due time, the harvest will come. The same is true for our lives. The dreams, goals, and breakthroughs we seek are growing beneath the surface even when we cannot see them. Just because something is not happening yet does not mean it is not happening at all. It simply means it is still in progress, unfolding behind the scenes. Every delay has a purpose. Every closed door is protecting us from something we are not yet ready for. Every obstacle is preparing us for something greater. When we understand this, we stop seeing delays as obstacles and start seeing them as necessary steps in the journey. We begin to realize that if something hasn't happened yet, it is because it wasn't meant to happen yet. And if God has already planned for it to happen at the end of March, then there is no reason to worry, doubt, or try to force anything. It is already set in motion. The only thing left to do is prepare for it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to force something before it's time. Think about an unripe fruit. If you pick it too early, it is bitter and inedible. But if you allow it to ripen naturally, it becomes sweet, juicy, and nourishing. The same happens with opportunities, relationships, and success. When we try to rush what is meant to unfold naturally, we end up disappointed. But when we allow things to happen in their perfect time, we experience fulfillment, peace, and joy. There are countless stories of people who thought their delay was a failure, only to later realize it was a setup for something greater. A job that didn't work out made space for a better career opportunity. A rejection from one path led to an even greater calling. A heartbreak that seemed unbearable turned out to be protection from the wrong relationship. Timing matters, and divine planning ensures that everything happens in a sequence that is aligned with our highest good. One of the most beautiful aspects of divine timing is that it often brings us something better than we originally expected. We might pray for one thing only to later receive something far beyond what we imagined. This is because we often dream too small, seeing only what is in front of us, while divine planning sees the bigger picture. What we think is the best outcome for us might actually be limiting compared to what is truly possible. This is why patience and trust are essential. They allow us to step back, let go of control, and make space for something greater than we could have orchestrated on our own. Understanding divine timing also helps us navigate setbacks with more grace. When things don't go as planned, most people panic. They assume they made a mistake, that life is unfair, or that they are being punished. But those who understand divine planning see things differently. They recognize that setbacks are setups, that detours are often redirections towards something even better. They don't waste energy fighting the process. Instead, they embrace it, knowing that every challenge is shaping them for what's next. Trusting in divine timing does not mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means preparing while you wait. It means developing the skills, the mindset, and the character needed to sustain the blessing when it arrives. Too many people want success, but are not ready to handle the responsibility that comes with it. They want the spotlight, but have not yet built the resilience to withstand criticism. They want love, but have not yet learned to love themselves. This is why waiting is not wasted time, it is preparation time. If God has already planned it for the end of March, then that means everything leading up to this moment has been preparing you for what is about to come. Every challenge, every lesson, every delay, it was all necessary. The only thing left to do is trust, prepare, and step forward with confidence, knowing that your moment is coming exactly when it is meant to. The final stretch, holding on when the finish line is near. There is a moment in every great journey when exhaustion sets in, when doubts feel heavier than hope, when the mind begins whispering, maybe this isn't meant to be. This is the moment that separates those who experience breakthrough from those who walk away too soon. It's not the beginning that is the hardest, it's the final stretch. Because the closer you get to your breakthrough, the greater the resistance you will face. Think about a long-distance runner. In the first few miles, they feel strong, energized, and motivated. But as the race progresses, fatigue begins to set in. Their legs feel heavier, their breathing becomes labored, and their mind begins playing tricks on them, questioning whether they can make it to the finish line. And then, just before the final stretch, something remarkable happens. The body and mind reach a breaking point. It's the point where most runners consider stopping, but those who push through, who ignore the pain, who find a reserve of strength within themselves they didn't even know they had, those are the ones who cross the finish line victorious. Life works the same way. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more difficult the journey will feel. The challenges will intensify. The waiting will feel unbearable. The doubts will scream louder than ever. But this is not a sign to give up. It's a sign that you are almost there. The reason the final stretch is the hardest is because it is the moment just before everything shifts. Think about a seedling just before it breaks through the soil. For weeks, it has been growing beneath the surface, unseen and unnoticed. But right before it emerges, the resistance is at its highest. The seedling has to push through the final layer of dirt, breaking past the very ground that has been covering it. If the seed had thoughts, it might think, this is too hard. Maybe I should stop growing. But if it did, it would never experience the sunlight, the air, and the full potential of what it was created to become. The struggle at the end is not a sign of failure, it is the sign of imminent breakthrough. This is why perseverance is the most critical ingredient for success. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they stop pushing when the finish line is just a few steps away. They allow temporary exhaustion to convince them that permanent success is impossible. But those who understand the power of perseverance refuse to let fatigue make decisions for them. They keep going even when everything in them wants to stop. One of the greatest challenges in the final stretch is the illusion of stagnation. When you've been working towards something for a long time, and it feels like nothing is happening, it's easy to assume that progress has stopped. But progress is often happening in ways we cannot yet see. Just because there are no visible signs does not mean movement isn't occurring beneath the surface. A person digging for gold may be inches away from striking the treasure, but if they stop because they don't see immediate results, they will walk away just before success was about to happen. The key is to trust that the breakthrough is coming, even when there is no physical evidence of it yet. The final stretch is also the time when distractions will be at their highest. Right before a breakthrough, life often presents options that seem easier, safer, or more comfortable. These are tests disguised as opportunities that attempt to pull you away from your destined path. It's the job offer that looks appealing but takes you away from your true passion. It's the relationship that seems convenient but doesn't align with your values. It's the temptation to settle for good enough when greatness is just around the corner. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more distractions will arise, trying to convince you to turn back. But those who stay focused, who refuse to settle, who keep their eyes on the finish line, those are the ones who experience the full realization of their dreams. Another reason the final stretch is so challenging is that it often comes with the biggest tests of faith. This is when the delays seem longest, the doubts seem strongest, and the waiting seems unbearable. It's the moment that requires absolute trust. Trust that everything you've been working for, praying for, and believing in is about to unfold in divine timing. When faith is tested, many people falter, assuming that difficulties mean they are on the wrong path. But in reality, the test is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of preparation. The challenges in the final stretch are meant to strengthen you for what's ahead. Imagine a door standing before you, locked. You have been knocking for years, waiting for it to open, and just before it is about to swing wide, you feel tempted to walk away, assuming it will never happen. But what if you knew with absolute certainty that just one more knock, one more moment of persistence was all it would take? Would you still consider giving up? This is the mindset required in the moment of breakthrough, walking into what was always meant for you. Every journey, every challenge, every moment of perseverance leads to this, the breakthrough. The moment when everything shifts, when the waiting turns into fulfillment, when the unseen efforts finally become visible. It is the point where what once felt impossible suddenly becomes undeniable reality. But here's the most important thing about breakthrough. It does not come as a surprise to those who expected it. Breakthrough is not random. It is not luck. It is not an accident. It is the inevitable result of unwavering belief, consistent effort, and divine timing coming together. The people who experience breakthroughs are the ones who refused to walk away in the waiting, who kept showing up when there was no evidence that anything was changing, who held on to faith when others would have quit. The moment of breakthrough is powerful because it often happens suddenly. For weeks, months, or even years, it may have felt like nothing was happening. But then in an instant, everything changes. The business that struggled for years suddenly takes off. The opportunity that seemed impossible suddenly presents itself. The breakthrough that once felt so far away is now right in front of you. But what many people don't realize is that the breakthrough was happening all along. It was just unfolding in a way that could not yet be seen. The best example of this is the bamboo tree. When planted, the bamboo seed is watered and nurtured, yet for years there is no visible growth. It appears as if nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, the roots are expanding, strengthening, preparing for the moment of emergence. And then suddenly, in a matter of weeks, the bamboo tree shoots up, growing at an astonishing rate. To the outside observer, it seems like an overnight success. But those who nurtured it know the truth. It was growing the entire time, just beneath the surface. This is how breakthroughs happen in life. They are the result of consistent effort over time, where every unseen moment of dedication was adding up to something greater. The problem is that many people give up while their roots are still developing. They assume nothing is happening when, in reality, everything is happening, just in a way they cannot yet perceive. Breakthrough is not just about receiving. It is also about being ready to step into what was always meant for you. This is why the waiting season was necessary. It was never just about the goal. It was about the growth. If success had come earlier, it might not have been sustainable. If the opportunity had arrived before you were ready, it could have been overwhelming. The waiting was a preparation, a refining process to ensure that when the moment of breakthrough arrived, you were fully equipped to walk into it with confidence. This is why mindset matters. Those who expect their breakthrough will step into it boldly. They will recognize it when it arrives and embrace it fully. But those who have allowed doubt to take over may not even see their breakthrough when it comes. They might hesitate, question whether they are truly ready, or even talk themselves out of it. Breakthrough requires bold action. It is not just about arrival, it is about stepping forward with certainty. Another key aspect of breakthrough is alignment. When things begin to fall into place, it is often because everything has been aligning behind the scenes. What once felt forced now flows effortlessly. The doors that were once closed now swing open. This is why waiting on divine timing is so important, because when the moment is right, everything aligns with ease. But here's what is most important to remember. Breakthrough is not the end. It is the beginning. Many people assume that once they reach their goal, the journey is complete. But the truth is, breakthrough is an entry point into the next phase of your journey. It is the doorway into greater opportunities, bigger responsibilities, and deeper purpose. The same perseverance that brought you to this moment is the same perseverance that will be required to sustain it. If everything was planned for the end of March, then that means the moment of breakthrough is here. The waiting is over. The preparation season has served its purpose. The unseen efforts, the patience, the faith, all of it has led to this. The only question left is, are you ready to walk into what was always meant for you?